Okay, hi Madison, how are you?
Hi, Douglas. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. I detect a British accent.
Oh, you do, huh? Um, yes, okay, I admit it. I am originally from England, but I've been in America for 25 years now.
We haven't lost your accent very much.
Nope, no, I haven't. I think it's because Americans like it so much, so I decided to hang on to it.
Well, no argument there. Um, Also says on your bio that you used to be a professional actor in film and
Mhm.
TV. Was that
Yeah.
here or in England?
Well, okay, I acted professionally in England from the age of about 18 for 20 years or so, up until when I moved here. And then I moved to Los Angeles originally, but I didn't want to move to LA as an actor. I thought that's such a cliche. So, in fact, when I moved to LA, I had already made the switch over to production. So I was working behind the camera for a while in production for television and film. And I did that for a few years. And then in my late 40s, I decided to switch over to being a therapist, which some people find a little odd or, maybe a strange choice. But actually, when you think about it, the two things are quite linked. Um, Therapy is a way of really empathizing with the client, getting to know them, kind of putting yourself in their shoes, as it were. And that's really what acting is too. It's not the client, it's the character that you're playing, but it's kind of the same process. It's interesting. So I use a lot of my acting experience when I'm working with clients. Um, it also really helps my understanding, and I think I bring a lot of creativity to being a therapist. I don't always go very by the book. I tend to well, I started off as a hypnotherapist actually, which was a great fit for me because I could create these little hypnosis journeys for people to go on, which really appealed to my creative streak. Um, and also, obviously my performing streak, as it were. So it all just does kind of gel.
Well, I thought perhaps 20 years in the entertainment business you might have needed therapy.
Oh God, yes. And also, I feel like the reason I'm a good therapist is because I've pretty much been through everything myself. So, I've made all the mistakes my clients make, and I've had all the emotions they have, and so I've ridden that roller coaster, and have developed some techniques and strategies for dealing with life, I guess, which I can pass along to my clients.
Were you in anything that we might have heard of?
Probably not. Well, I mean, I did mostly theatre. I did like 95% theatre
Oh, I
just
see.
because
Okay.
that's what there is in England. I did do some classics. I did play Lady Macbeth twice and also played Lady Bracknell in Importance of Being Earnest twice. um, yeah, so I guess I like those, big, strong, dominant ladies. That's what I get cast as. I often get cast as evil characters for some reason. Um, but they are fun to play. And I still do a bit of theatre acting too, which was partly the reason why I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. They have a very vibrant theatre scene here, which is really fun. Um, so I like doing it, but I just do it for fun now. I don't do it for money or to support myself.
I see licensed MFT. What is MFT?
Stands for Marriage and Family Therapist.
Oh, okay.
So when I first started as a hypnotherapist back in LA in 2006, I loved doing hypnotherapy. I realized that doing this one-on-one type of thing was very natural for me. But I felt a little bit stifled, I guess, just doing hypnotherapy. I felt like there was more I wanted to do, and I wanted to help more of a range of people. So I went back to school and got my master's and in psychology. And then I said to myself, well, what is the easiest path to licensure? And it was MFT. That was literally, at that time, that was the only thing you could become in California. I don't think they even had the LPCC that they have now, which is Licensed Professional Counselor. So so I became an MFT, even though I don't do a whole lot of stuff with marriage or family. But that's what a therapist is in California. And actually, I work mostly with trauma, addiction, and chronic pain. Those are my three specialties.
That's interesting. You can actually help people with chronic pain just through that sort of therapy without drugs?
Absolutely. In fact, I really believe in it very passionately because I became acquainted with that when I first started as a hypnotherapist, and I ended up working in several chronic pain clinics as part of a pain management team, sometimes with doctors, acupuncture, chiropractic, and a range of different modalities. And what I discovered was that the power of the subconscious mind is so strong that you can influence that with hypnotherapy in such a way that you can actually make a difference to a person's physical symptoms. It's really interesting, isn't it? So I never would have thought that it works as well as it does. But then I discovered that when I started seeing these effects of hypnosis, and I started thinking, wow, this is amazing. And then I also went down the path of recognizing the link between chronic pain and trauma. It doesn't come out of nothing. It comes out of something. And then I also noticed there was a link between chronic pain, trauma, and addiction, which is even more prevalent these days, what with the opiate and epidemic. So there I was working in the chronic pain clinics. I then started working in addiction rehabs. When I was getting my license as an MFT, that was the easiest way to collect my hours. So I worked a lot with addicts, chronic pain people, and very often they were the same people.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Really fascinating, and I actually love working with that population, although I don't exclusively at the moment.
Let's switch over to your writing. On your bio, it says that you have 4 novels and 3 self-help books. The one that we have is called The World Beyond the Redbud Tree. Is that your latest?
That is my latest, and actually, in total, I've written 5, so that's my 5th book. The 4 others were all written in the 90s when I still lived in England. I self-published them in 2014, but I didn't make a big effort to get them out there. I just wanted them to be published, just not be sitting on a shelf somewhere. But when it comes to this latest book, I really believe in it very strongly, and I want people to read it. I feel like it has an important message. To me, it's not just a story. It's what it's saying to people, hopefully giving them some inspiration and hope for the future.
Okay, give us a bit of a synopsis. We've got just about 4 minutes. Tell us about this book.
Yeah, I wrote it during the early days of the pandemic. And of course, we were all going through kind of a turbulent time then, weren't we? And I was working with a lot of clients who were very upset. And I started thinking, not only the pandemic, but everything that came out of the pandemic. And then there was all the Black Lives Matter protests, which I was affected by here in Asheville. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could at least envision a world where there was more harmony between people, harmony between humans and animals and nature. And so I had this idea of a parallel universe where different choices have been made. You might have heard of this concept of speculative fiction. I think it's a fairly new phrase. So I think my book falls into that category. It's not science fiction, but it's certainly not reality. It's speculative fiction. It's talking about an alternate world, if you like. There might be some scientific validity to the idea of parallel universes. I have read about it. But in any case, my book supposes that the two worlds, our world that we live in and this parallel universe, made the split in 1563 when the first group of colonists came to North Carolina, and they became what we know as the lost colony. But in my book, they were not lost. They actually integrated with the Native American tribes and became a new tribe, which gradually spread across the entire continent. So it's kind of my vision of a better world that could be.
It's interesting because I had a conversation similar to this with another author who was considering writing a book, speculative fiction as well, on what if the European colonists had never come.
Oh, yes, of course, yes. That could be another what if, couldn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what the American continent would look like. Because
like.
we're talking about from the tip of Alaska all the way down to Tierra del Fuego, right? That's a big area.
Yes, yes. So the whole of the North, Central, and South America, you mean?
Yeah, if the Spanish had never come, the Portuguese,
Yes.
the English, the Dutch, the French, if none of them had come.
It would still all be indigenous tribes. Well, the interesting thing was that when I wrote this book, I said to myself, I have a very powerful imagination, so I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to have fun with it. I'm going to dream up things, And so it literally just came out of my head. And then when I went back and we went to a place called Cherokee, which is quite close to here, about an hour from here. And we went and visited a Cherokee village, which they have intact, where the Cherokee people that are still there, they take you through the village and they tell you a lot about the culture. And I started noticing that there were some really strong parallels between that Cherokee culture and the vision that I had dreamed up. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. Maybe I was a Cherokee in another life, who knows? And the land we live on right now was originally Cherokee land. So a lot of the ideals and the culture of these people who lived here for thousands of years before we got here, successfully, a lot of those ideas worked for them. So they could continue to work for them. If we hadn't come along 250 years ago and, screwed things up a bit.
Well, it's true. And it sort of remains to be seen if the European industrial revolution is going to destroy the planet or not.
Exactly.
I mean, we're on a path, but we'll see if we catch it in time, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remains to be seen. Yeah. And I just thought there's so many of these dystopian future things out there. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to have more of a utopian vision. I guess I'm a very optimistic, positive sort of person, so that appeals to my personality. And I thought, well, if we can envision it, we can move towards it, maybe in little small ways.
Well, I think that's good. I think we need some optimism because there is far too much pessimism around right now. Anyways, Madison, we do have to wind this down. We are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. The book, again, is called The World Beyond the Red Bud Tree. Is the book out now?
The book is out, yes. It came out on April 11th. It's available on Amazon and also on my website, which is yourworldbeyond.com.
Yourworldbeyond.com. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. It was nice talking to you and nice meeting you. Best of luck with the book. Hope it does well.
Thank you. Thank you.